I'm rolling.
Sound rolling. Slate.
Roll 1, scene 3, take 1, marker.
Camera rolling.
Speed.
Actor ready.
Wait. Oh, now I
No,
should
you're
slate
good.
it.
You can tell it.
You good?
Just,
And action. Growing up, there's always been interesting pieces in my house. I pretty much grew up in a glass house, so I had to go outside and do stuff. Because I remember one time I broke something with my mom's, and that was the first time I've seen her cry. So I felt terrible, obviously. And she would take me on her jobs to different houses and whatnot, and I've grew to understand the concepts of design as far as kitchen, living room, and bathroom, and all that stuff. And I picked that stuff up, and I liked it. It was cool. It was just making something come together and look amazing. My mom's really good at what she does, so it was a pretty good example of seeing a form of art. I always had an interest for it, pretty much from that beginning, and I always loved art class. That was my favorite class to go to. I mean, because who likes doing homework and writing stuff down and stuff like that? Nobody does. But then when you get to go to the classroom and actually create something from your head, that's a lot better and more fun. I actually had something go to the art fair, which I myself was pretty surprised. It was a clay bird, and then we made a nest and everything like that. And it was at some it's one of the other buildings that Utica Community Schools use, the IRC. So they would typically have science stuff going on there and whatnot, and then they had arts to show. So that was pretty cool. That I wouldn't expect at all, because I thought my art was mediocre. I mean, it's just an ugly looking bird, but we're kids and stuff like that. We're molding ourselves as artists, I would say. 7th grade was when I took my first art class, and I enjoyed the hell out of that. My art teacher was really cool. That's another thing. Art teachers are the coolest people, always. I like their open mind, and then just watching them be passionate about it. It's just really awesome to see somebody that's so in love with art and creating stuff, and that vibe comes off of them and goes onto you. When I was growing up, my family, my sister, mom, and dad, we really liked films, and it was a time where we could all bond together and watch a film, and we had a huge catalog of films, and I always look forward to watching movies with my family, because we all get to joke around and enjoy something together and watch something unfold, stories and stuff like that. It was something that it was a highlight of me growing up with my family and whatnot. It all made sense to convince myself to get into filmmaking. Holes, to this day, I love that movie. I don't know, it's just the warm feeling I get from watching that film. Like when I first moved into this place, because I never lived really on my own before, I put that movie on to make me feel good, because it's something that I just loved, just the whole story of it, and just making me reminders of watching it with my family and watching it in the back of the car when we were taking road trips and whatnot. So growing up, that definitely was one of the films that stuck to me, and it's still stuck to me to this day. But just before college, wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I always liked technology. I always had a passion for it. I mean, I grew up playing video games and whatnot, and being on the computer, and I've always enjoyed how that stuff worked. I was interested by it. So when I went to college, I was like, I guess I'll go into technology, something like that, because your parents say, oh, you're good at that, just do that, or whatever. And so I said, why not? So I went into software engineering, I wouldn't say I didn't like it. It's just I was expecting more from it. And I was going through a lot of personal things in my life that really brought me down to my lowest and whatnot. So I was really lost because I wasn't finding anything passionate with my software engineering and whatnot, and I was a little overwhelmed. And then on top of all the personal problems and stuff I was going through, it was a whole nightmare, I would say. When I went to college, my roommate was Lonzo Bentley, and pretty much I always got a good first impression of him, and we clicked like that, which was great. Lonzo was very passionate about filmmaking, and it is still to this day, and he would always talk about it, and we would talk about art, and I would tell him that I really like film, as in like photography, because that was another thing of my passions, that I've always enjoyed photography, nature and whatnot, and just those beautiful stills. I always had a liking for that when it came to art as well, other than just interior designing and paintings and whatnot. And so he brought up cinematography, which I really did not even think about at all until he kept on talking more and more about it. And I remember this moment, I was actually in our bathroom in the dorm, and I don't know what I was doing in there, but that's where I came to make the choice that I was going to pursue into the career of film. I dropped out the next year, wasn't really sure what I was going to do next, as far as, what's the next step. Obviously, you look into it. There's the options of going to film school or being self-taught. So you can go on YouTube and you can learn all that kind of stuff, but I felt like the classroom setting was right, and to get that kind of background and meet with people, to make contacts and whatnot, that's always great with film school. Lonzo came to me and he said that he wanted to make a film, and of course, this is something I wanted to get into now. So I said, yeah, let's do it. So we were trying to figure out a location to do it at, and I said, my mom's place is perfectly fine, because my mom's easygoing and she doesn't mind it, and she, as long as we respect all of her stuff and whatnot, she wouldn't care. Going into that, I only knew a smidget. I tried to go online and try to educate myself as much as I could, and whatever I learned from Lonzo. And the experience of shooting Suicide Isn't Painless was a great experience. I had a phenomenal time.
Hey, you doing all right now?
Yeah, I'm good. I called Sabrina.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I know, right? Tell me about it.
Why'd you call her, man?
Some last voicemail, I'm pretty sure I was a voicemail away from her mom calling the fucking cops on me, so.
Yeah, man. I told you gotta stop calling. You're harassing the girl, man. She's gonna freak out and you're gonna get fucked. I understand you have feelings for this girl, but don't fuck yourself over.
Shooting with Lonzo, of course, because he's one of my best friends to this day, and we get along so well, and we put our heads together. I mean, he was off of Lonzo's direction and script, but he was willing to take in ideas from me as far as the cinematography and whatnot. It felt good shooting something like that and creating that film. And I know to both of us that film meant something, because it was to a point that some of it was real. I mean, some of it was fabricated, but the topic of suicide and dealing with depression is something that everybody deals with, and myself deal with. So getting the chance to shed some light on that was really awesome to do. It felt great to make something and create something, and to act that out and to make the film, the enjoyment. And we did it over a weekend, just 3 days. Wasn't anything crazy, because we would just shoot until late at night, go to bed, wake up in the morning, and then just go right to shooting. So it was just sleep, shoot. I mean, we would have some time in between, but that's literally what we did for that whole weekend. I was happy with what we made, and I was excited to see it all cut together and whatnot. I'm just a little bit nervous because it was our first film, and it's like, okay, no, your first film ain't gonna be freaking Oscar category like film, but you know, you just put yourself out there, and this is what we created. And 2014, I took a year off of school, and I was just working, saving up, and then it came right into the year 2015 is when I rolled into MPI, which is Motion Pictures Institute, which is in Troy, Michigan. Going to film school, I would never take back. You know, even though I was told $12,000 out of my own pocket, because I already had debt from college, so the last thing I want to do is take out more stuff. So the monthly payments weren't bad, and I was making decent money, so I said, why not? So I'll do that. My experience through film school was good and bad overall. I enjoyed all my instructors. They were all great teachers, and I learned a lot from them. And some of the classmates and some of the friends I made in there were great people. I learned a lot. I mean, there's still lessons today that I still use in everyday life, such as wrangling cord and all that fun stuff, whatever, being a grip and whatnot. My instructor for cinematography, Robert Skates, he really knew his stuff, and he was a great guy, and he was really knowledgeable, and I felt great because I was doing well in that class, and I enjoyed every bit of it. And then going through that, the only thing that really sucked was being a director, because I'm the kind of a person who's in my shell until I get to know you, kind of thing, and taking on the role of being the captain of the ship, that wasn't anything that I was interested in, but it was the experience that I needed to go through to learn how to run a set, talk to your actors, and talk to your grips, your gaffer, all that good stuff. You know, everybody has a way of filmmaking, and I was being taught, you know, this is how we do it, this is a standard, and you guys need to learn the standard before you start going out of the rules and whatnot. So then I was openly trying to take in that concept. After, I think I was just in film school for a few months, that's when Lonzo came to me and said, no, I'm ready to shoot our second film, Beautiful Melancholy. That was a whole different experience between Suicide Isn't Painless and Beautiful Melancholy when it came to filmmaking, because I was still in film school, but we were filming stuff, and you know, you have all these tools, this utilization of different cameras, different lenses, you had lights, you had all these different things. I was getting taught, you know, this is standard with your wide, your narrow shot, all that kind of stuff, your establishing shot, storyboards, all that kind of stuff. So more technical kind of stuff. And Lonzo, he was still, is learning on his own. He decided to take the route of just teaching himself. So it was different, because somebody coming from school versus somebody just doing free, we kind of clashed a little bit. We still got it done. It was still a great movie. I'm happy with all the cinematography I did on there, and I'm happy with how the film turned out overall. Problem was, I wasn't taking into consideration that we don't have money nor time, because when it came to film school, they already paid for all the equipment, and then all you have to do is go sign your name and you rent it out, and then simple as that. And we didn't have money for that. You know, when you're doing stuff on your own, you're doing micro budgets, you don't have jack. So being used to having all the tools and then going back to just guerrilla filmmaking nearly, but I mean, we obviously shot at our friends and places in our own homes, and we had limitations and restrictions. So that was something that also was a problem. So going from, you know, to nothing to having something, going right back into it really screwed me up a little bit, and I wasn't really thinking about it and trying to be more understanding on my end. Prior to shooting Beautiful Melancholy, I made 2 other films. Going into my first film into film school was a silent film that we had to just tell a story through just the cinematography. So I was struggling to have some ideas at first, but then I decided to just make something about a mundane life of a working businessman, because that's something that I didn't want to do. You know, nobody wants to do that. Somebody wants to be working a career where they're having a wonderful time and they're getting to enjoy their job and not dread it every day. So I basically told the story of this guy who was going to work and playing out through his morning ritual of getting ready for work and dreading the day of going into the job and eating boring old Cheerios, plain Cheerios, no flavor, no nothing, no goodness. I remember it was a shot that I was doing where he was doing some work and he had some kind of postcard on his cubicle. It was a Tahiti, and he just kept on like staring at it, fantasizing of being in a nice warm beach somewhere with his wife, you know, somewhere else than where he's at. That was one of my best friends, Nick, who played the guy. Thank him a lot for doing that, because Nick's no actor, but I asked him to do it and he said of course. So I did that, and funny enough, I had my dad be the dick of a boss to him, so that was a funny experience to do. It was fun because I didn't really have, like, I had an idea of what I wanted, but a lot of it was kind of like on the fly of what inspiration I wanted to do, because I knew that, okay, I want to do a scene like this, I want to do a scene like that, but not anything specific about what I want to do. So I really love the scene where he was being yelled at and he had to fill out a bunch of paperwork, and he was in like a conference room and he was filling out these papers and whatnot. He had a stack right next to him, and he went to go get up because he finally finished his stack of papers, and then he gets up and accidentally swipes them all over the ground. And there was a shot where I was pretty much laying on the ground because I was so limited because I was only using my own camera. I had a 35mm lens on there, and I tried to get the best shot I could, and it was a shot of him looking down on the papers and just was in just utter disgust, just like, oh God, kind of stuff, you know, because you're already having a bad day at work, and then it's just one thing after the other, and I really enjoyed making that. He turns his life around pretty much because his wife gets pregnant and he starts thinking about starting a family, and you know, he starts turning his life around. He's changing his thought, you know, he's looking forward to what he's doing with his life. Even though he may have this mundane job or whatnot, there's a lot more things to life. I get it, because you spend most of your life at work and whatnot, and I know not everybody enjoys their job, but you got to make the best of what you got, and there's other things other than the job that you have. So he was able to turn his whole thought process around and kind of came to that realization. Speed.
Are you doing the whole monologue?
No, just start from the bottom.
Scene 1C,
Right.
take 1, marker.
Action. With my second film is when it was sound and we were able to rent equipment from the school to use. And that's when I was being more of a director. I mean, I was a director, but I had only worked with actors. But this time, I had people to be my gaffers, or gaffer and grips and whatnot, and sound. So there was a lot more people in play when it came to doing that. And I was a little overwhelmed because it's still, I wasn't looking to be a director, but that was part of the curriculum that you had to make your own film and you had to direct it. Doing that, that was basically about a couple that is having struggles between one another in the relationship, and they're trying to work it out. Lonzo actually played the guy, the actor, the boyfriend, I would say. I'm still not sure how they were. It was like a old, like, I don't know if they're broken up, they're still together. I don't know what I was going for, but it was something of that sort. But Lonzo came through in the clutch because we had to do a whole casting process, which was pretty fun because you got people that are trying to win you over, which is something I've never been through before. Going through that process, I was able to find my actress, but I couldn't get an actor. And the actor I wanted actually committed to a different film, so I was like, shit, I'm stuck in a spot right now. So Lonzo, being a good friend he is, said that of course he would do it. So we got Lonzo, we got the actress, we were going to make the film, so we shot at my dad's place because I was living there at the time. Things weren't turning out the way I wanted, which was shitty because every time when you get to making a screen or a screenplay, you got this whole idea in your head. It's gonna look like this, it's gonna look like that, it's gonna look right. And then when it comes down to actually doing it, there's always problems or something's going on, you don't have the proper equipment, and that was really bumming me out. And at the same time, I was the cinematographer. So I was directing and I was doing cinematography, which I felt I should have probably got somebody, but you know, it's fine. You see that from time to time. The director will be the cinematographer for sometimes, if not the whole film, for parts that they wanted specifically done. That was really also stressful because my sound guy couldn't stay the whole time. So then we're trying to rush to get through our scenes because he can only be there for a certain time because he had to go and do another film. And I don't blame him. I don't feel like he poorly timed anything. He's a great person, so I'm not going to try and speak bad about him, say that he screwed me by planning poorly, but that was just the situation we were given. We broke something, and we got candle wax all over the place, and my dad was not happy at all.
Speed.
Booming shot.
I know. I need slate.
All right, slate.
Scene 2, take 3, marker.
It came to thesis season, and that's when we were shooting like the actual films that we're putting days into, and we were getting better equipment to use and whatnot, and that experience I really enjoyed. I love creating the scene. I love setting up the shot and setting up the lights and making something. That's what I really enjoy. And obviously, overall, yes, the story and whatnot, but that was the stuff that really stuck with me in that part of filmmaking. When it came to graduation, we went to a movie theater. I can't remember the location. It was out in like Rochester, but we were at a theater and we kind of had like a red carpet scene. We had the whole MPI background and they were taking photos of us and whatnot. We're all dressed up, so that was a really cool experience. And then when I got into the movie theater, it was hot as hell. I don't know what happened. The AC wasn't working. Everybody was just, because this is bad. Everybody's sweating their asses off. It was great. It was great to see stuff that I worked on an actual big screen. That was a good, very good experience, and I will never forget it. And I had my mom, my Aunt Susan, and my dad all there, and so it was awesome to have my family members also see stuff that I work on and whatnot. I was happy going out of it, but there was some doubt because I got this certificate in production and a minor in screenwriting, and I had nothing to show for it. I wasn't making anything. I wasn't using that education to better myself. And so after I felt like I wasn't passionate enough for it, and I just felt like, I felt like I needed stability over just career choice, I started working back into the auto industry. That's where I kind of stepped back from filmmaking. I was like, all right, it's something I love, it's something I enjoy, but right now it's just things are not working out, and I need to try and do something else because I'm only getting older, and I felt like I needed to get started on something, or I felt lost. So it felt good to get onto a path and know that's somewhere I'm going to. I felt like I was moving somewhere. Luckily, it actually turned out that working at this place, I ended up getting hired in, but not just at some standard position. I actually got hired in making salary. Now, thinking about it overall, do I regret doing what I did, or should I feel like I should? I'm not gonna regret anything because it's life. Life is full of ups and downs, and you're gonna go on different paths and whatnot. And I don't try and take anything to regrets because life, whatever happens to you in life, molds you to be the person you are. So anything that I've ever gone through that was terrible or whatnot, I don't regret because that's just part of life. Am I happy where I am now? Not extremely. Obviously I'm happy because I'm making good money right now. But at the same time, I'd rather be working somewhere when I'm happy. Because, right now I'm single, I'm 23 years old. I don't got really anything going on outside of my career right now in the auto industry. So there's nothing to strive more to or anything like that I'm passionate towards. I bought my first place. I got that going for me. So it feels good, and this job helped me to achieve that. So I'm not regretful or anything. And I'm happy that I was able to get to where I am now. But after working at that job right now for a year and going through what I was going, it's now I feel like that first film I made, where I feel like I'm that mundane every day, waking up at 7 in the morning, working my 9 to 10 hours. It's just a repeat loop. Will I ever go back into it? I want to say yes, I do. It's something that I've always enjoyed doing, and it makes me happy doing it. So I would like to definitely get back into filmmaking. I don't know when. Hopefully with this job, when things start slowing down, that I can start spending more time doing all that and re-educating myself. It's just some still stuff that I pick up to this day that I still remember, but there's still a part of me where I feel like I need to educate myself more, and things are always changing with the cameras and whatnot, and that's what I want to go into, obviously, is the lighting and cameras. So there's always newer stuff coming out, and I feel like, if I'm gonna do it, I really want to get all into it, and I really need to re-educate myself before I feel comfortable enough to say, yeah, I can work on your set and I can help you make this film. My advice to somebody that would be like right around our age when we made our first film is do what you want. Don't let the restrictions of the technicality tell you how you're supposed to make a film. Granted, the rules are there for a reason to help you guide yourself into making a film, but just be free with it. Do what you feel is best. Everybody's gonna not like your film. There's always gonna be one person. Nobody's ever gonna like it. So just do what you feel is right. Eventually, you will get there. As long as you keep on pushing and striving, it will happen, And it may take 20, 30 years, but it will happen as long as you keep on creating, learning, honing your craft, all that. You'll strike gold. Just keep on mining. Keep on whacking away at it. It's gonna be tough. You're gonna have doubts. You're gonna have struggles in your personal life. you're gonna feel like you want to just quit. It will pay off in the long run, and you'll be happy that you stuck to it and you're doing something that you love.